don't know what's right and what's real anymore. I don't know how I'm meant to feel anymore. When do you think it'll all become clear? Because I'm being overtaken by the fear. Our hearts are all ruled by something. This young girl is expressing that the world has kind of got to the point where it's difficult to understand, who do I need to be to fit? And so many young people, I speak to you personally here, are controlled by that. Where and how do I fit in today's culture? And it rules you. And she's saying it so poignantly. And I want to say this, the reason why we have moved to Vue is because we have hope for those being debilitated by debt. We have hope for those being destroyed by depression. We have restoration for relationships ravaged by social fragmentation, divorce, a job culture, etc. And we have abundant life for those gripped by apathy. That's what we have to offer. That's why we move into public space. So how are we going to do it? And I'll close with this. This is the mission we think we must proclaim and embody as a church. And we'll give it our best shot. We must overcome that which has made us invisible in culture. We have to do that, church. No more fleeing from culture and forming a bomb shelter where we just say, culture's so nasty and it's beating up our kids and crushing our whole family. Let's just hide away from them all. No more of that. No imposing an outdated culture, telling people they have to say these and thous before they can even walk through the door. We're going to adapt to culture. No, we never throw away the package that is the gospel. We never throw away the truth. And if you look at our values, we have thrown away nothing to make this move. But we adapt to a culture that needs to hear the message in their language. Why hand out Anglo-Saxon flyers when people are speaking English? We're going to offer community to a fractured culture. You see, the problem is, in Africa, where I was born, people jump into the gospel and accept and believe by faith so much because they're desperate for hope. But when you live in England and everything is perfect because we're so sorted, our culture is so sanitized, we think we don't need it. Until you're impacted by something and your life starts breaking because you realize you're not in control. You're actually gripped by the fear. And that's normally when you see the effects of our fractured culture. We're going to offer love, not judgment. The church has judged far too much. Far too much. How? Kiri and I used to speak about this when she used to have conversations with her friends at the gym where she used to work in Sidcup. She'd come back and say to me, Simon, I try and just chat about what my weekend's been like, and they're just talking about the multiple sexual partners they had that weekend, and the drugs and the drink, and I don't want to talk to them, and I don't know why they do that. And we used to just say, but babe, and she'd say to me, Simon, that's exactly how they will live. Why would they live any differently? That's exactly how culture's telling them to live. So no Christian should ever go up to a non-Christian and say, before I talk to you, you need to live a different way. How is that possible? Paul even says in 1 Corinthians, he writes to a church in Corinth, if we were to disassociate ourselves and judge others, we wouldn't be able to be in the world. No, we become a place where people like that know they can fit. God will change them, not us. We're not going to change people's hearts. If there is a real God and He is who He says He is, He will change their hearts. And you know what else we're going to do? We're going to show that following Christ is the greatest thing, instead of telling people it's the greatest thing. We're going to show them by the lives we live, rather than constantly beating their ears up with some message. It is no good trying to convince people that old-time religion is fun after all. We need to demonstrate the life-enriching impact of Jesus Christ in the busy and complex, hopeful and tragic, grimy and ambivalent material world of the everyday. We need to be able to show that the kingdom of God and the Spirit of God have indeed come and are among us, not merely on Sunday mornings, but in every moment and every dimension of modern life. That's my challenge to you as a church, and to all of you who are listening that aren't part of us. That's what we're going to try to do. Our mission, you should see it written everywhere. It'll be on the website whenever you go there. We want to serve Watford. We don't want to be a parasite. If you read your welcome pack, you'll see some of those things written. We don't want to be a parasite to Watford, saying, how can we get more money so we build a bigger church? Yippee. No, we're going to serve Watford. We're going to transform lives, because that's what the gospel does. That's what the gospel did to Zacchaeus. That's what the gospel did to every one of us in this room that knows Jesus. I could go on and I could get them all just lining up. how God has taken them from places of such emptiness and brokenness you couldn't even compete, to loving and being loved by Jesus. I conclude with this. If the church has a message that can transform the lives of 21st century people, if the gospel is true, then every one of you in this room and in each of the other screens in this complex, those people walking the aisles of Tesco and Asda, looking at clothes in the Harlequin, sleeping in today after a crazy night out last night, should at least get a chance to hear it without having to leave reality to do so. We want this place and our lives to be such that people who finally do wake up to the brokenness and idolatry of their lives have someone to come, somewhere to fit, and people to draw near to. That's what we want. That is why X1 has moved to Vue Cinema. So people can see, maybe, just maybe, there's a place I can visit. Because of who they are, I'll come again. I'll come again. I'll come again. And then Jesus does what he always does. Change life. That's what we hope. I want to say this. I'm pretty much done. Basically, what I've tried to say to you is that I think the reason we've moved to Vue, there's a question I wanted to ask that maybe some of you are asking. It's not to get our names in papers. It's definitely not to get my picture in a paper. One of them shows me having such a bad receding hairline. I would have begged, please, don't put me in there. It's not to get in papers. It's because we're sad the church has become invisible. We're sad that culture is the way it is. But we know we've got a message, and we know we have lives that can make a difference. And we want to go from private, hidden space to public space to say, just maybe, one day you may not walk past and go to screen 5 because your life is so broken and messed up, you'll pop into screen 7 and your life will be changed.